So it's 5:53. We'll get rolling a little early. I'll call the meeting to order. The
5:57.
5:50. What did I say? 3? Yeah. Yes. Gross misinformation. I'm gonna need a lot of that help, I think, tonight. So I apologize in advance, and I appreciate everybody's support. So the first item on the agenda is hearing from the Mountain Tamers, which is an annual request for usage of town highway segments. And do we have you're present? Welcome. Good to see you.
Hi there, my name is Tom McCarver.
Yep.
Trustee, I think, of the Mountain Tamers Snowmobile Club. So this is an annual request for the use of public highways for snowmobile travel. These are registered, insured snowmobiles, use the town highway. And it's, the list was provided. I can go over that with you if you'd like, or
I think we have a copy of those, right? Everyone was able to take a look at those. It's very similar to those that have been approved in the past and last year. Yeah.
They're actually, I believe one was actually taken off.
Oh, wasn't? Okay.
Yeah, so it's basically the same with one less, so it's even better.
Okay. And have we had any problems as a town with snowmobiles on the roads?
Possibly other areas, not these.
Not those. I haven't recalled seeing any feedback of objection from the community or issues that's coming from it in the past. So just fairly straightforward, and part of it, I think, is to allow a little bit easier access to the stores, which I think is helpful for their winter economics. So with that, I think it's pretty straightforward. Entertain a motion to approve the use of town highways for the segments that were identified and applied for by the Mountain Tamers.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There you have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for the time. So the next item on the agenda is some continued discussion of the 2027 budget preparations. So starting with the budget requests from the Woodbury Volunteer Fire Department and the East Montpelier Fire Department. It's like we've got folks just walking in. So is everybody able to find the budget information in the shared drive? We can start with East Montpelier, since you guys are here, which is great. Thank you. And we also have printouts of the documentation that you guys had provided too. Everybody have copies of those.
So I just, so you know, I printed up the two budgets and the capital. Great. That's what they're looking at.
And just, I guess, for clarification, you guys had your meeting to approve this budget, right?
So this is an official.
So this is the official budget as approved by the department. And then we have a joint meeting with East Montpelier Select Board later this week too. Was that right? On the 11th. So do you want to, I guess, give the 30,000 foot highlight, I guess, for what we're looking at?
Some of the changes we've made, and we started this a little bit last year, is some cost sharing the moving budgets. We talked about trying to move to a single budget instead of having one, because we're one organization. The biggest thing we did was we split some stuff that was all on the fire budget towards the ambulance budget, because we have 2 other towns that support just the ambulance. A lot of those costs, like heating, electricity, water, that stuff would be significantly lower if there wasn't staff in house. So that really should be the ambulance. So we've moved a few of those things, major changes, with the major increases, especially on the fire budget, are obviously the things that we don't have any control over, our dispatching and our insurance. Those seem to always be the ones that go up significantly. We've had a 3% increase on the fire budget, nothing super crazy there. On the ambulance side, we did increase salary a little bit to allow for some raises for the staff, to keep us competitive. And then again, an increase to dispatch and insurance. And I believe that was all the major stuff. Yeah, I see a $6,000 insurance that wasn't there before. That was one of the things that we moved over from the fire budget because obviously our insurance is higher with 2 other vehicles and paid staff.
Okay, so that's just liability insurance, property liability.
Insurance, that was, they all kind of lumped into one. I'm breaking things down a little bit more, but.
Gotcha.
And then we do have some bigger increases to Plainfield and Marshfield again. And overall budget 5% increase with a 6% to you guys in public there.
And does that include the funding for the new position? There a date on that?
We'll have a little more detail on that Thursday night.
Okay,
We decided to put that on hold for the time meeting.
Okay.
And
sorry, don't,
find a better way to date it.
well, sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun on that one. But that does that.
I had a couple
Yeah,
minor
yeah.
questions, like detailed questions and then a bigger picture one. Okay, so the smaller things, I was curious why, and I think this was on the ambulance. Why salary and payroll tax are not correlated, one's going up, one's going down. And usually the payroll tax is a function
Yeah,
of salary. So just curious about that.
That's a good question. I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah, here it is on the second page of the ambulance. Salary's going up to 390, which is just a, looks like an inflation.
Yeah, I think it was 4%.
Okay, so I would think payroll tax would also go up. Anyway, that was one question, and another one was on, I think it's on the fire side, it's about physicals.
Yes.
Yeah, and you zeroed that out, and I was curious about that.
We haven't spent any money in a long time.
Oh, so you're not doing physicals?
No, the fire department physical, we've gotten way past that $500 mark. We're not requiring them anymore.
Okay, and that's, you think that's okay? That's not a risk to your workers' comp insurance?
We haven't found it to be.
And then I guess the big picture, we'll obviously delve into this a little more on
Yeah.
Thursday, but the ambulance increase 6% for the two, you come there in Calais. I noticed that if we were back at the $30,000 contribution from the fire department to the ambulance operating budget that we did in 25, that would offset that increase. And basically zero out the contribution that the two towns would be making. So I just want to point that out. So at the very top of the ambulance operating budget, the first line, notice it says East Montpelier contribution.
Yeah,
That's the fire department's contribution,
yes.
because they have revenue. Correct me if I'm slowly learning this.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
they have revenue that they gain from ambulance calls.
Yep.
And most of that money goes towards the capital budget. Which is part of what makes this so confusing. It's like a separate stream of revenue that goes into their funding their capital purchases, but some of it comes out each year. And my first year, the first time I met with the fire department, I was part of that. It got bumped up to 30,000.
Yes.
And then it went back down to 16,709 last year.
Yes.
And then, there's actually nothing in there, right, for this year. So you're proposing not to contribute.
That's our goal, to try to keep that money in the capital fund.
Yeah.
As it stands at the moment, we're not looking at asking for any capital money by that capital plan we have.
Yeah.
And our annual revenue is increasing, so we can, future years, be open to that. We ended up with that weird 16,709 last year, because of the increases from the other two towns, we were able to level fund the ambulance budget, increase Montpelier and Calais.
Yeah, that was really helpful last year. So anyway, I think we'll talk about that more, but actually not everyone's gonna be there on Thursday, so.
We've got
I think
another,
it's a important thing to know.
Yeah, I have another question too, on the capital plan, we talked about that. Um. Capital plan, the balance now is 220,873, is that correct?
That was as of June 30th, we're right around 300,000 now.
Okay. So from June 30 to now, for 6 months, you might have put another 100,000 in there?
I believe that's a.
80, whatever.
I think you told me 279 after the transfer.
Yes, after this month's transfer and then the purchase of the truck.
Somewhere around 280, somewhere in there. But they've added to it. And again, that's coming from their ambulance revenue.
Right. You're gonna get to 482 by 27? Seems like a lot of money.
Yeah, we're, last year we brought in 287 total, I believe.
237?
I'm talking, at the top of my head, but.
yeah, the revenue is not on these, right?
So the revenue is that next line up,
Yeah,
and it starts with 259,445 and goes all the way up to $438,000 by 2032.
Hmm.
So by the math I did, you're projecting 9%.
That's our historic, in previous capital plans, it was set at the same amount across 7 years, which I thought was pretty unrealistic.
But you think that's a realistic,
That's what we
Projection,
thought.
that's-
I had
I mean, it's
5 or 6 years back and we averaged 9% across all of those.
well,
a good business to be in, I guess.
Yeah. Okay,
Well, I had another question about the capital budget, if we're going to go there, there's a line here about fire department annual capital expense. And that 40,000
Yes.
is in there each year. As I recall, isn't that the contingency fund?
No, so that's
It's not.
40,000, I hesitated whether to leave that in there, when I started working on the capital plan. That's the 40,000 that we're allowed to spend without coming and asking you guys for money. Or coming and asking for permission to spend money.
Okay,
So some years it may be close to that, other years I don't expect it to be at that. So that's kind of a worst case scenario.
So isn't that the contingency fund that we're talking about? And isn't that what that 40 is?
No,
You have 40 each year that you can, if you need to, you don't have to ask permission.
so the contingency fund is full, I believe our last interlocal, we're allowed to spend up to $40,000 in the fiscal year.
Yeah.
Out of capital for, small things.
For small things, not necessarily capital items, but. small.
Well, smaller, less expensive capital items,
I
not
see.
trucks and things.
Okay,
one last thing, the SCBA
Yes,
equipment. You've got 1 year of life left on it, according to the thing, and I don't see anything
yes,
as a replacement.
so we have 1 year left of life on the bottles.
Okay,
Our plan is to replace half of them this fiscal year, half of them next fiscal year, and that will fall under that $40,000.
gotcha, okay.
I believe it was about 20,000 a year. And we're doing them half and half because they have to be tested every 5 years, and we ran into it last year where they all had to be tested at once, and that became kind of an issue.
Mhm.
We're trying to split it up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it would be helpful to know, I mean, I definitely recall that from our conversations when we were going around the interlocal. And there's a lot of dialogue around the increasing expense of like the turnout gear and the bottles and that sort of thing. I think it's wise to start capturing those items on the capital plan. And you know, I think it's good to know that, you know, the plan is that, or at least the tracking is such that like the expense for replenishing those or incurring those costs can be absorbed by that threshold. But it'd be helpful, I think, as there's, you know, turnover on select boards and that sort of thing, to start like breaking those out and just have maybe estimated costs for them at like whatever the kind of yearly,
Absolutely.
or whatever the frequency is, that they need to be addressed, you know, because I guess that it only ends up, I guess, becoming a concern where you have like a year like 2029, when there's a pretty significant truck expense and it looks like you're planning on buying that second engine out of capital funds and not financing it. Hence the no payments to be incurred after that. But that will then, you know, bring your capital budget or your capital balance down to that 66,000, which if that overlaps with some equipment expenses could be pretty dicey and thin. So I guess just no problem, I guess, with representing it on here, but maybe having it like somehow like coded somehow differently in a way that it doesn't impact those projections quite as much, but at least it can still be thought about and when reviewing this. That's not entirely
Just
clear.
But say the 500,000, that's in 2029 dollars, and that's in today's dollars.
That's hopefully in $2029,
You've taken a number and moved and made add percentage to it.
we're working on how we're going to replace that truck.
Yeah.
You can see a lot of use and trucks are getting bigger and bigger and we're
Oh,
getting
wow.
space issues on the road, so we're looking at these smaller trucks.
Okay.
It'll be less money than buying like the truck we just bought.
Well, I appreciate it. Are there any other questions about the budgets that or items members would like to discuss? If not, if you have more time to review this in the coming days and have questions, I'm planning on attending the meeting later this week. I'd just say, you know, circulate them to the group like the Pari and we'll make sure that we have those.
All right, if there's any questions that come up between now and then.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll try to have solid.
Yeah,
answers.
thank you.
Yeah, at least give you guys a heads up of those coming in, for sure. And thanks for putting the time into this. I know it's a lot of change that you guys have been going through, but this is a very helpful step in the positive direction from our perspective, I'd say. So thank you. Appreciate it, guys. The next item to discuss is also emergency services, proposal that we've got from the Woodbury contingent. Welcome. We're just kind of rolling through our budget discussions. Do we have that in the meeting folder? Under the budget folder?
It's not in the budget folder, it's in the general folder.
General folder.
At the bottom.
All right. We'll pull that up. And welcome. While we're pulling those up, do you want to introduce a kind of a 30,000 foot view of what's changed this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Greta Dunlap, the president of the fire department. And our budget did go up about 5%, 4.9%. And we've had to increase the truck fund because capital fund, because we are getting a new tanker. We've got it ordered. I guess it's about $500,000 we're thinking, and we have some of that money already, so that's where we are with that. The truck loan payment fund that you see here, we've got a couple more payments on E1, I think it is. And so that'll should be paid by 2027, I think. And I just want you to note that there's the truck maintenance reserve, and then you see in the budget, there's also 121 truck maintenance. Truck maintenance in the budget is stuff we know we're gonna have to do for the truck, so it's easy to budget for. And we try to have a reserve on hand for anything that's about 20,000 on hand for something catastrophic that happens to one of these big trucks. That's pretty much it. I mean, we really, tried to keep it down. Another thing I would, just reiterate is none of this goes to pay for the buildings, the mortgage on the buildings. None of that's included in this. Because if the Woodbury Fire Department ever disbands, the building and land and property all goes to the town of Woodbury.
Mhm.
So they're paying the mortgage on it. I don't foresee that changing for you all. But it's, I guess it is what it is. They're really working hard. They all are, with all the calls that all this EMS and firefighters are going on. As a non-firefighter, non-EMS, I'm just blown away by the work that they do, and I'm grateful for it. But, so if I can help them with paperwork, I do. But yeah, that's about it.
The station maintenance, was there a big upcoming expense that was coming down the pike? It looked like there was a pretty significant increase in that one, or was it just a underfunded? It looked like there's
What
a,
number?
the 116 station maintenance going from 5,200 to 10,000 and change.
So the two things that came to play into that was, number one was the town said they didn't any longer have time, resources to plow and salt our driveway, so we had to hire salting. And the second thing is we're trying to get a company to come and cut the grass next year, because we're having a difficult time between all the runs, and get someone also want to cut the grass, so we're gonna hire someone who will do that. That's what that says.
Yeah, because we didn't have any grass before.
That isn't like that isn't an opportunity for like brush fire training or anything?
You don't want to let it get that.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Volunteers do it this summer, but
Yeah, sometimes volunteers bring that
Yeah.
time.
and realistically asking people to,
Yeah, fight fires,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's
just
a long.
becoming too much.
Yeah, got it. We'd rather have them fighting fires, thank you.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, we can probably get someone to do that.
And we did institute our non-voting membership class, where people can join to do things like that. We had 2 or 3 people join up,
Helping with maintenance.
They help with truck checks, once a month. Sometimes someone will come and help clean up after a fire. So that kind of helps a little bit, but they don't want to fight fires or EMS. I get that.
Yeah. All right, so no one else is asking. I need to know what an air pack is.
Oh, I can answer that for you. So the real
went up.
name is self-contained breathing apparatus. So
Okay.
it's an air cylinder we wear on our back. It's open circuit, so you basically, it allows you to breathe air from the
Yeah.
cylinder and then breathe it out.
And it led to some increases in this budget. You're getting more, or you're testing them more, or.
So it's the cost of testing. So we have to annually, every member has to be fit tested.
Mhm.
Have medical clearance when they start, and then the unit itself has to have service where they flow tested, and that's been about $80 per unit.
Okay.
So those costs have gone up, like, drill everything.
Yeah, right. All right, well, it sounds important.
It is, yeah, that one's very important, because again, I was involved in a fire in East Hardwick last winter, about a year ago, where there was a failure of an SCBA. Of a Craftsbury firefighter who got injured pretty badly and had to be rescued. So it's important that
Yeah,
stuff gets,
yeah.
he was upstairs and trapped in couldn't get out and couldn't breathe.
Yeah,
They fail, so that's why we gotta make sure we're maintaining that stuff.
And do you guys have a capital plan put together?
Yes, for trucks, yes.
I don't see it included
We
here.
can, I need to update it, we can provide that. The problem we ran into with the capital plan is what we're seeing with the tank, why I was laughing when you were talking about trucks, because the tanker said it's 20-year lifespan next summer, so we said we'll start planning to buy one. Well, in the plan, we had anticipated 250,000 to 300,000 for a tanker, well, they're now a $500,000,
Yeah.
and what we discovered is that price is climbing about 50,000 every 6 months. So it's why we grabbed a truck that it's not a custom, it's a stock vehicle that had already been ordered, so we could arrest that price growth. So what I can do is we can update it and send it to you with the best numbers that I can choose, but with the numbers the way they are right now.
And they would have all the equipment on it and their useful life and
Yes,
replacement.
yeah, we
Okay.
do have.
That's
that.
what we're looking for, yeah.
We just need to update the amount because I was quite shocked, like we're really anticipating the next pumper truck might be well over $1 million.
You don't want an old milk truck then?
No.
Okay.
So we, again, we're on about a 20-year schedule and it's, to me, it's staggering what truck prices have done.
Yeah.
We really wanted to keep our old truck, but unfortunately, it's one of the 2005 Max Worst Internationals in the town of Woodbury. Unfortunately, own two. It's very service thirsty and it's not, we just gotta get rid of it. It's leaking and it's.
It also goes to certifications for the fire department.
Yeah, we're an ISO class 8 fire department now and keeping that equipment up will look, and that lowers everybody's insurance premiums, so we're within 5 miles of the station. Keep it, but again, we'll update that. We need to do, it's just, looking at truck prices, I would say, look at those numbers and go,
Well, I think, we've been having so many conversations around, capital, planning, both for, the departments, also ourselves. And we've certainly been having that conversation with other municipalities. And there does seem to be, slow but fairly regular dialogue, at the state level around how to get everybody thinking in a structured fashion around these capital expenses and where there might be opportunities to have multi-municipality purchase plans that could open up access to lower interest rate terms and other funding sources. So I guess the more line of sight we have onto those, even not to get into the micromanagement of why and when and how, but just so it's another set of eyes to maybe see opportunities where there might be overlapping interests and we all have so many different conversations.
You guys reviewed it at the board.
Definitely.
At the time, and the town voted on it. The only thing that's changed, that was the time we actually reduced the number of vehicles in our fleet because of it. The only thing that's really changing is the market insecurity on trucks is kind of a big problem in the fire truck market. We spent a lot of time on why that is. There's some reasons for it, but.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing on the municipality side. The plow trucks
What we
don't
decided
catch
to do
everything.
was you're gonna see the fire trucks leaning more toward cookie cutter trucks, like anyone buying town trucks has seen that. Where you go buy the one on the lot instead of pick the one you want, you wait 2 years, that's kind of what you're gonna see in the fire truck market. The other shocking thing is seeing when you sign a contract on a vehicle, you custom. Contract now says if the price goes up after you order this, you're gonna pay the difference, right? There's no more fixed price than that, so that's another reason you gotta be super fair. But we'll provide you with the list, we'll update the number.
Yeah,
Okay.
make sure I get it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tariffs.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, both, and all. And thanks for the service and participation and the time.
You've got
yeah.
our article, right?
We-
We plan to put it in town meeting.
The article.
Yep.
I actually got a question about that, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because the date says January 2026, which is before town meeting. Will that work? Article 2
Oh, I see.
has the capital replacement fund paid
July.
full by January 1, 2026.
You mean July?
It means July? Is
The
that,
capital replacement fund payable by January, is that the one you're talking about?
yes.
Yeah,
Because
I copied the article from last
Actually,
year.
2027 is what I think.
So,
Yeah, it would be 27. I think you're correct, because what you guys wanted is not have to pay that till after your
That's
tax revenue.
that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Okay, so.
So yeah, the ownership, yeah, she's just not thinking
You
far
made
enough.
that, I know, it's like that's what I'm talking about. Got it.
I understand.
Feel free to change.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, no, that'll fix it. That's good, thank you.
Great
And then we'll
catch.
be at the payment on that tanker, out of some of that capital, we're gonna try to get that payment. So you're not dealing with it in July, but
Thank you.
Thank you, yes, that's helpful.
no promises at this point, because
Yeah.
we're not really in the driver's seat, but
Okay, okay.
Thanks for that clarification and good catch. Thank
you
you.
can catch, because that would,
Yeah.
that would have been nice. It's January.
That would be next month.
Voters wouldn't be voting
So,
so much
We'll
anyway.
just spend it then.
Great. Are there any other questions about those two items for the Woodbury Fire Department? No, thanks again. Appreciate the time, everyone. Yeah,
Thank you.
Call if you need anything, you have any questions, feel free.
will do.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
thanks for all you do.
Bye.
The next item on the budget agenda discussion is the Social Service Appropriation Advisory Committee. Is there
Has its
someone
own
gonna,
folder.
has its own folder?
Call you, she's handed the torch.
All right.
Okay, so we had a terrific meeting of the, SSAAC. That included Ian Winchester and Chris and Sarah, and Barbara was helping us manage it, and myself. Had a good discussion. You all have see the document in the, in our folder that represents the results. And I will just go through this quickly, but I haven't done this with you all before, so if you want a more in-depth discussion than that, obviously ask questions, but stop me if I'm doing something that you prefer more explanation on. We discussed the telecovered library and recommended, based on the pressures for the town, that we would recommend level funding from FY 26, which would amount to 34,881. So that was just about a $3,000 delta there. I'm sorry, $1,000. Any comment on?
My only question on that is that under the purview of this?
It's a
Because-
recommendation only, as our committee looks at that, and we just make a recommendation to the select board. You all, we all can decide how we want it to
Okay,
go.
and the select board decides what ends up on the warning for the
And
town.
that's
not the
true, Barbara,
library.
correct me if I'm wrong, that's
Okay.
really true of all the rest of it as well.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, so,
But yeah, I think you're right, Jamie. I don't remember a recommendation on the telecovered library being there. That's kind of new as.
It fits in.
It fits, yeah,
you
I'm not
presented
opposed,
with
I'm just-
information.
yeah.
I question this as well. I'm not sure that it even needs to be part of documentation, as I don't know.
So last year, we did the same thing, and they recommended that they made the recommendation to go with the funding they requested last year, so there was no change. It was just that in this year's discussion, the recommendation was to keep level funded. The select board decides what goes on the town warning.
And it is a separate warning.
Thank you. Separate article.
Thank you. Article. So then with the others, I just wanted to note that
Barbara, would you just say
Sure.
a few words about why you didn't want, you wanted to level fund?
it was very much the thought that the request wasn't significant. The needs were not dramatic. And we felt that it was a place the select board could consider reducing cost It was not a reflection on the value of the library or the commitment to it or any such thing. It was much more looking at the horizon.
Where are the opportunities? to
Yeah.
save some money?
And if I can add to that, Chris had gone through their financial statement and looked at, and reported to this committee that they were well funded. They got two large gifts last year, this past fiscal year, or maybe the fiscal year we're in, that were unexpected. And and I don't remember all these numbers, I don't know if you can help quote it, but he looked at their financial statement and felt like they were in a very good financial standing. And $1,000 wouldn't hurt them.
That was the discussion, really. And I'd say that, you know, it's a very strong organization that, does well with fundraising, and that's the conversation as well. That's a good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So then, you can see these are in alphabetical order. Barbara has indicated with an asterisk or a double asterisk, those that are increases or new to the request list. I guess what I can do, so we are level funding the following: Calais Historical Society, Central Vermont Adult Education, Central Vermont Council on Aging, Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation. We came to Central Vermont Home and Health and Hospice. That organization had made an error in the previous year's request, which was $3,600. $3,650. And we had previously, the year prior, had asked for $4,150, and there was just an error in their request last year, so. We agreed as a group that we would consider this level funding, the $4,150, and discussed the. Extreme value that provides, and the CPHHH is a very respected, incredible resource for the community. Level fund Central Vermont Memorial Civic Center, Circle, Community Connections, Community Harvest, Elevate Youth Services, Family Center, Washington County. The Friends of Winooski had requested a small increase of $100. They were noting the level of work and investment of time that they have been supporting Calais on as the reason. We thought that was legitimate, but also noted that doesn't mean that that's the fund that has to be the funding level going forward, right? That maybe if we're not seeing them at all this coming year, that would be different. Good Beginnings of Central Vermont asked for an increase of $150. I would say that Barbara, of course, knows the organization quite well, having been on the board, but the work of that is to support. We were discussing the fact that it supports babies and new families in our community, and that's something that we all wanted to continue to support, and felt that was a difficult ask. Level funding Good Samaritan, Green Mountain Transit, Green Up Vermont. The Montpelier Senior Activity Center was a discussion we had some questions. They hadn't provided anything more than what was requested of them, which is a renewal request is a very brief questionnaire, and they noted that they served 23 Calais residents or had 23 members. And that felt like the delta or the, when you divide 5,300 by 23, that felt like that was an awful big contribution. So we started to ask more questions. We asked for backup information on their budget and their income statements, and for more specificity about individuals from Calais utilizing the Montpelier Senior Activity Center. We didn't get detail on that. They don't maintain detail on participation in meals and that kind of thing. They do maintain detail on membership. And so that's what that 23 was from. They charge for all of their, not their meals, but their, various activities. They're, you know, a subset of the, town, or the city of Montpelier. Those factored into the recommendation that we actually go down by 1,000, and you'll see there's an increase, at the other senior center. So, we felt, I think, universally across, or, you know, across the committee, that increase had been going along for quite some time. They were previously at 4,300. And that it was time to maybe dial back and see where we could invest those funds in other places. Level fund Mosaic, level fund Old West Church, level fund Our House. People's Health and Wellness, you might recall, did not put in a request last year in error, and so we went back to their funding they previously requested, because they did submit this year. Prevent Child Abuse Vermont apparently has not requested in the past. And they did request $1,000. We did recommend lowering it to 500 as a result of looking through they did provide a lot of good information. They seem to be in a very strong situation financially. Not to diminish the work by any stretch, but just to say, first time, our recommendation was to go with 500 instead of the 1,000. Twin Valley Senior Center requested an increase of $1,000. They provided significant background information, and that's included in your packet, or in the subfolder. They have made requests of increases. Previously it was 500, this year it's this year it's 1,000 to meet it at 5,000. The information about the meals, particularly, I think it's close to 800 meals, provided through Meals on Wheels. A lot of very basic needs, are supported through Twin Valley. They're doing foot care, they're doing, you know, clinics that help people avoid trips to the emergency room and other doctor visits and that kind of thing. So we felt like that was the place where investment was appropriate. Vermont Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired was level fund. Vermont Center for Independent Living. The Vermont Granite Museum also was a first-time applicant. There was discussion about, you know, a great organization, but we were, the discussion point was around whether or not this organization is a social service and that whether it really fits in this location. In terms of the community voting on it en masse with other social service direct support activities for our community. So there was actually so the recommendation was to not fund this in this manner. There was a thought that we could return the idea to the Granite Museum if the select board wanted to say that they could put together the signatures and offer an article for consideration if they wanted, because they did describe in their application a specific plan for an event and programming that is very specific to Calais, or involves Calais, and our history and connection with the granite industry. So there's a sort of a one-time potential request there that seemed like it might make sense for an individual request. Washington County Mental Health was level, window dressers level. I think we all have been so pleased with the window dressers, and that was true of the committee. Woodbury Cows Food Shelf did not ask for an increase, which I was surprised by personally. And then Youth First. So that would put us at, if you were to accept our recommendations, it would put us at 31,649, which is slightly higher than FY26, but recall that FY26 did not include people's health and wellness. So we really are trying to keep tight to what you all, did last year.
Okay.
Yeah, to be specific, it's an increase of $2,450, 8.4%, and more than half of that is the people's health and wellness. So if we compared it to the previous year,
Right.
about 4%.
Well, I certainly appreciate like all the work that went into contacting these organizations and having the cross dialogue and follow-up dialogue with them. I think that that really kind of embodies the intent of this particular group. And in that light, I think taking that approach with the library dialogue, it sounds like they're prepared for a slight decrease relative to what their request is, and that kind of offsets some of this. Is that right?
We
Or
did
is-
not have communication back and forth.
Oh,
with
you
the
didn't?
library because
Okay.
They present directly. to
Right,
us.
right, right. Okay, that's a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Either way, I mean, I think it does, it's helpful context to both look at that organization and its budget in the context of this, even though it's warned slightly separately. Or not slightly separately, independently, but it kind of falls into the same category of use.
Well, the committee is,
Yeah.
now that we've done it for 2 years, in this manner, we're all, the members are people who are, gonna do the background work and understand and look at a 990 and look at
Yeah.
some of the background. And Barbara was really helpful in doing some of the preliminary work before the meeting, but also follow-up. And, so I thought, it's actually a really, it's a terrific, extension of the work of the select board to have folks doing this.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. I mean,
Yeah.
I appreciate the research and analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tegan.
One thing I'm not sure about, I know if these organizations come to us with petitions, I think we have to put what they request on the warning as is. We can't fiddle with the numbers. Because Helen Hubbard comes to us and asks and we say, okay, and we just put on our warning, I think we can change the numbers, but I'm gonna go back and double check the work on my end and just make sure the legality and that KHL isn't gonna come back and say, no, you can't do that. I haven't done.
Sorry, I heard two things there, Tegan.
What?
Are you saying that, I mean, it's the select board, keeping the Calais Hubbard Library outside of these others, were you saying that the rest of the organizations, we wouldn't have the ability to change the numbers?
I'm saying if an organization, or if Calais voters petition to have something put on the warning, we have to put it on the warning the way they petition it, as long as it's legally statutorily written.
Right.
Because all these organizations request it through a different process, we do it differently. I think that's why we're allowed to change the numbers. I'm not certain about this. I haven't delved into it, but I wanted to double check this before we do change things.
Okay.
Because it's possible Kelly Hubbard might say, no, we want to ask this much, and they'll come back with a petition saying, this is the number that needs to be on your ballot. Again, this is just me speaking aloud what's going on in my head. I don't know what is the actual case.
I think you're absolutely correct.
Our town clerk is going to figure it out.
Great, okay, I feel like I was hearing, the other ones maybe.
No, not yet.
Question.
And no, none of these have gotten Calais voters to sign a petition of 5% of voters to get this on the ballot. If they do that, then we can't. But we do it a little differently from most towns. Most towns, the organization gets Calais voters to sign a petition. If at least 5% sign it, it goes on their warning. They don't have a committee to go through it. They don't just accept. It's just a different process in a lot of other towns. Ours is unique.
Well, that's a good point to bring up. And I guess we can include these recommendations. I mean, we have the paperwork in our budget worksheet, and then wait to hear from Tegan on kind of where this falls in the spectrum of budget requests. It seems like it's most relevant to the Kellogg Hubbard one, since that's the only one that's kind of falling in the in-between stage. in between, but
Which would also apply to Vermont Granite Museum. So if you guys
Yeah.
agree with the recommendation to not fund Vermont Granite Museum, then on behalf of the advisory committee, we're gonna email them and tell them that it did not get approved at the select board level. And their alternative option is to get a petition with 5% signatures, and they can have their own warning on the, so that it's gonna apply to them as well.
right. I guess I'm following that,
If they so choose.
if they so choose. Yeah. All right. Any others?
So, for the next draft of the budget, do you want me to plug in these recommendations? You pleased enough with them at this stage to say, let's go with these and look at them again in a week?
I certainly am, and I would look to the rest of the board members here, if there's any objection or we need to have any other, conversation about that, I think. We now would be the time, but otherwise, if everyone's in favor with taking the recommendation of the, social service and
SSAAC.
the sake,
I'm very happy with it.
yeah, then I'd say we should do that.
Okay.
And thank you for the work and the research on that. The next item up in the budget conversation is going into a little more detail on the highway department and grants items.
Yeah, so last time we met, you asked for a little more information about the 2 grant projects that were in the draft budget. So there's some material in there in the folder about loose road culvert, and some of it's fairly technical, but the upshot is that we do have a structures grant from the state that would need to be used by December 26th. The grants for up to $200,000, it requires a 10% match. The estimate that we have was for $247,000. I added 5% cost inflation. And so our match would be $59,109, which is obviously significant. That's like 3%. I talked with Toby a little bit about where this came from, what was the origin of this, that section of the road has not failed. It is a place where the culvert is at risk just because of the nature of the storms these days. And the hydraulic study, like what we've seen with the other larger projects, calls for a much larger, much more expensive culvert. But it wouldn't be the first time that we passed on a grant for this particular culvert. It's happened a couple times before. So it's not a, it's a, you know, it's along the lines of the Bliss Pond Road or Haggett Road. It's a higher risk, elevated risk. But it's not an essential.
And you said it's one that hasn't actually failed, yeah, whereas the other 2 that we're not putting in are ones that have.
Yeah, that's right. They were open, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
The other grant project is for the Marshfield Road back street repaving. When we.
I do.
Oh, Jeff, wasn't?
Yeah, go ahead. I have a clarification question, but.
Okay.
So Back Street is not paved.
Right, so this would be adding
This would
pavement
be
to that,
adding pavement to Back
Yeah.
Street.
which we don't have to do.
Okay.
That's how we got it quoted, because, and I take it that would not be unanimously supported in the village.
I support it personally, but I believe there is opposition.
There are people on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, and we don't have to decide that now unless we wanted to, you know, reduce the
Okay,
the budget allocation, but I assume that if we were gonna go forward with this, we would do some sort of process before we actually sign a contract. But you know, for budgeting purposes, I think it's easy enough to leave that in there because it's such a small section. Anyway, what the paved portion, as you well know, is in difficult shape, and if you look at the curve of what happens as pavement starts to fail, it can start to fail quickly. Once it gets to a certain level, I think we're probably there in parts of the road. So anyway, we've had the county road, quote provided by Pike, we also got Marshfield, so that the number that we have in here is based on that. We don't have the highway grant, but we're making an assumption that we could get one. It was relatively easy to do. It requires a 20% match, but it's less than a mile, so it's a smaller amount. $25,000. I rounded up because of the shoulder work. We're going to talk about the bill that we received for the county road shoulder work, but we need to include that in our budget because that can get expensive.
Line painting too, right?
And line painting, yes, but the state, if we coordinate with the state, they do the center lines. We pay for the fog lines, but we'll have that in our budget.
Okay.
So, any questions about that one? My recommendation would be, if we can find a way to do the paving, I would say that's.
I think it's a safety thing.
Yeah, and I think we're at the point where it's gonna really start to degrade.
Corey, that's also a spot where John said it's getting tough to plow on that side of the road with breaking up.
So only accelerate the degradation, so. Anyway. That was the information on the road project, road grants. Can we move on to the.
Yeah, considering options, yeah.
So, just to back up, so looking at the general government and highway department budgets together, the draft that we have shows a year over year, on a budget basis, $195,000 increase, 10.9%. Down a little bit from the last time we met, but not a lot. Obviously, we're still quite high, and the big drivers in that change are the medical insurance, a third dump truck payment. We have the Loose Road Culvert and the Marshfield Road paving grants, and then normal sort of inflationary factors for the road maintenance and vehicle maintenance, and then we have the conservation funds appropriation request and the emergency management committee's request for the local hazard mitigation plan. So I came up with a menu of options to discuss, just try to focus on where the obvious opportunities are to reduce significant amounts. The first one was to take from the capital highway equipment fund, reserve fund, to make the first year payment on the new dump truck that we have planned. That would be about $68,000 there. So obviously that's a big one. And each percent on the budget is just about $18,000, a little under $18,000. Number two was the Loose Road Culvert at $59,000. Reducing the conservation fund request by 50% would be a $15,000 savings. If we reduce all the reserve funds except for technology, the reason technology is not included is because that's basically just how we fund our annual, it's an operational expense. We just have the flexibility of putting it in a reserve fund. But if we did all the other significant reserve funds, it would be $22,250. Then I looked at legal fees. We have been budgeting quite high on legal, but I think a lot of that is driven by the horse issue. And we're now in the first full year without any horse expenses, legal expenses associated with the horse. I think we could pretty comfortably reduce that by, say, $4,000 in court. I think that would be reasonable. Then we start to get into areas where I'm a lot less comfortable. Removing the Marshfield Road paving expense would be $25,000, and then we could look at total road maintenance and total vehicle maintenance. I'd have to get more specific about where that would come from, but if we really needed to, we could go into those areas. So those are the obvious ones to my eyes anyway, and you can make decisions about those tonight and have them reflected in next week's draft. Or you can think about it for a week and we can look at it again in a week. And the budget we'll be looking at next time will be with the social services and the fire departments, it'll be everything.
I thank you, Kari, for going through and making those recommendations. As a process that's worked really well, I think, in prioritizing the conversation around these in this exercise. I want to just note that, you know, we're running a little behind schedule for this evening's agenda. So I think if I could ask maybe that we maybe kind of temper expectations around doing any kind of particular deep dives. I think it'd be helpful to have some conversation around what we think is a reasonable target or percentage increase, so that we can kind of start taking that into consideration. And maybe whether or not anybody has particular opinions about some of the things that Kari has brought up, where we might be able to kind of arrive around some consensus. You know, I think most of the voters would agree that a 10% increase is pretty hard to sustain, and that does represent basically everybody's first pass at requests relative to, you know, their good faith effort to kind of look at their budgets for the year. But you know, this is kind of where the rubber hits the road, and we get to kind of whittle those down if we feel we need to, or do some course trading. Go ahead. So I guess let's have some conversation around what folks maybe feel would be a realistic target for a percentage increase or flat.
Quick question,
yeah.
Kari, did you add this all up? Like, what if you took all this out? What would the
All these items? No, I didn't. I can do that really quickly.
I just did really quick math on just the top three, I think is about 7.5%.
Okay.
Yeah, I was doing it in my head as he went, and I'd gone down about 8 before I lost her.
Yeah.
7.5, so that brings us into the 3 to 4% range.
Which is livable.
Yeah, and I think
That's
That's
quick
where we
math.
would
I
want to
think
be.
4% is
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
we should be heading.
We're hoping to hear back about the municipal planning grant in the next
Yeah,
Okay.
2 weeks, so hopefully by next Monday, we'll have more
that
information.
would be good. Then that's 9,000 something.
Yeah, that would really help.
That would help a lot. I mean, I guess I would argue that that's probably what the capital budget is for the highway department, is to, you know, in our discretion, to apply that towards equipment, and that's equipment. So that's a huge chunk, and I think makes sense. You know, with the loose road, I'm certainly sensitive to the fact that that we've been passing up that project, and we seem to keep getting awarded those funds. But I also think that there's been some dialogue this year around other funds for water quality that might be able to be applied for and applied to that would
That's right.
be interesting to take a look at. And maybe we could have our grant administrator look more closely at that, which makes me feel a little more comfortable about pulling that off. I also feel like if we're choosing between the highway department budget items, both equity and timeliness of paving the Marshfield Road segment, in my mind, kind of takes some priority. So, and I would agree that the 4% target mark, I think is realistic if we can better that. I mean, I think that puts us in pretty good standing, I would hope, with the voters. And I think it seems like with those top items, we could be getting pretty close to that. So was there any other dialogue around that, or Kari, are you feeling like that gives pretty good direction for kind of making the modifications and inputs? for next time?
Yeah, I'm not hearing any
I-
changes now, but this menu to look at again next week.
Yeah,
Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Is that right?
So we're not saying, no one feels that we can take anything off the list right now.
Well, do we feel that we can take the chunk for the truck out of the capital budget?
I certainly think so.
I think
Yes.
that's the.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can make that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a loose road culvert.
I'd be reluctant on the loose road. I'd like to think about that some more.
Hmm.
I mean,
Please comment.
And I guess I'm hesitant to make a commitment one way or the other on the Conservation Commission, but that's
I'm not ready.
that's its own conversation, and Neil's here for that, so in part, so, yeah,
Yeah,
there will be
Yeah.
conversation.
yeah.
The legal fees also, I was a smaller one, but I think that
Yeah.
one I would. Based on experience, I would take the recommendation as it is.
I think so too, and I think, Kara, you're doing a great job of utilizing the VLCT folks and,
Yeah.
you know, getting,
That's always the first option.
I'd like to say one more thing, going back to the East Montpelier budget and the contributions that we were getting from them for the prior 2 years, and now it's zero. I think we need to look at that, and maybe ask for a bit of that money back,
the East Montpelier Fire Department.
from their contribution they're making to the towns.
I think that's where the conversation is gonna go on Thursday, but you look at their capital budget and the fact that they're budgeting 9% growth in revenue on the ambulance and fully funding $1 million in purchases out of that fund with still a healthy balance at the end of that, they can afford a little more.
Yeah,
yeah. And I suspect that would be part of the tenor of East Montpelier municipalities' input too.
Yeah.
They have historically requested that as well, but,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Thank you, Kara, that was
Yeah,
helpful.
but so new truck payment and legal are the two things we're gonna change.
I think,
In
this week.
In this
Okay.
round, yes.
That's okay.
Perfect.
with inputs from the fire departments added to it, I guess.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next item, we have a standalone consideration for the Conservation Commission, which is a review of the recommendation to make a contribution of $15,000 from the Conservation Fund for the Fitch Farm Conservation Easement Project, which was reviewed by the Conservation Commission, and then there was a thoughtful note that was submitted by the Conservation Commission, kind of outlining the opportunity and the project. There's also a very well thought out and outlines overview as a follow-up to our last conversation around budget and conservation reserve fund contributions that kind of outline some priorities and things that are on the horizon that I guess kind of dovetails into this. So I think it'd probably make sense to talk first about the Fitch Farm property proposal specifically, because that's an action item that we'll have to consider approval of. And then maybe we can follow up with a little bit conversation around fund balance and priorities, if that makes sense. Yeah, sure. And Neil, and we do, I'm assuming you're here to kind of speak on behalf of the family on the project, or answer any questions. Yeah, all right. Great. Would it be helpful for folks to, I guess, have Neil just kind of run down what the project is and what the commission has approved?
Yeah, it's, so the Fishers are putting a conservation easement on the farm on Robinson Cemetery Road. And with Vermont Land Trust, Grace is from Vermont Land Trust. And, they put in an application, the land trust put in an application for the town to contribute money from the conservation fund toward this project, which is a common thing for conservation easements to, get local support. And, they asked for 15,000. I think the total, do you know the total, the number is off the top of your head?
I should, I don't.
I don't either. What's that? Yeah, something like that.
310 is what I have.
310, that sounds right to me.
Yeah.
So relatively small amount in the scope of the project. And we have a set of guidelines that has been approved by the select board a number of years ago, to guide how we spend money in the conservation fund. So we met last week and talked through the project and looked at the guidelines, and the Conservation Commission felt like it was a really strong project. It's a, agricultural land on prime soils. Part of it's in the historic district up here. And, a beautiful property that a lot of people use. Forest that's in a forest block that's important and kind of connects to, it's like a travel corridor from Pekin Brook up to the west side of town. So we felt like it was a strong project, and the funding is kind of in line with what we've submitted before. Conservation.
Does anybody have questions about the particular project?
I have a question.
Yes.
These easements are permanent, correct? Indefinite. If the town needed an acre to increase the size of the Robinson Cemetery, could it do that?
For eminent domain. Otherwise, no. It's a permanent restriction on the property.
The chair of the cemetery commission doesn't believe they'll need any more space. Today, anyway.
He's gonna die before I will.
I don't want to, I'm not gonna touch that with the,
I understand. I'm just bringing that up.
the property has, there's a certain percentage of it that it is, prime ag or agricultural use, and then there's a forested segment, and that's gonna continue, I guess, I'm assuming get managed, under kind of a forestry management plan, and that all rolls into that. And then there's the vast trail segment that I'm assuming is represented as a perpetual usage, in the.
Not, there isn't any kind of, legal protection of, recreation in the easement.
That's correct.
But, there's a 3-acre envelope excluded from the easement around the house and barn. So kind of this development area, and then the rest of the property will be conserved. Yeah, and I don't know I think it's a little bit less than half forest, but the, easement says it needs to be managed with a forest management plan that they approve, so it's kind of keeps it in production in that way, the farming and the forest.
If I may just add,
Sure.
there is a reserved, farm labor house, right? In the instance, in the future, the farm buyer wants to have a farmstead there and live on the property. So we're trying to keep in mind, what the future of this property looks like, and, what are the considerations around whether to memorialize public access or not, was around what that future farm, owner might need or want.
So you're from, VLT?
Yes. Cool, Harris color.
Thank you. And so the long-term plan is, would you be looking to sell to a farmer?
So, the Vermont Land Trust is just working to purchase the development rights,
Only
not
the
the land
easement.
complete. But there is a repurchase option,
called an option to purchase at agricultural values, which is an effort, it's an imperfect tool, but it's an effort to keep the property in the hands of farmers. And to a lesser extent, kind of an affordability tool, so that, in the future, if the property is under contract with someone who's not a qualified farmer, according to the IRS, and not a family member of the Fishes or the subsequent owner, then the Vermont Land Trust can stop that purchase and purchase the land at its agricultural value instead. And the idea being, if this is going to be, someone's hunting grounds from out of state or something, we'll have put quite a bit of public funding into protecting this property, and we want to protect it as ongoing agricultural land. So we don't exercise that option all the time, but we do.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I guess I don't really have too many more questions, I guess, about this particular one, though. It's related. I think to your point, like, these are reserve funds that are appropriated through town approval, and we have, I guess, oversight over approval of that because that's our job. But certainly there are guidelines for usage, and there's one of these projects that was recently funded similarly, a little bit different project makeup. This one's a more significant contribution than that one. And I guess my question is that likely to be kind of a growing change, or more indicative of or a trend, not change, a growing trend of like the public contribution to kind of help subsidize or offset some of the costs associated with these projects and conservation projects, likely to increase, or are those more relative to the specifics of the land acquisitions themselves and the features that are on them?
So if it's okay.
Yeah.
So the last request was also from Vermont Land Trust, from my colleague.
Yeah.
Meet Binhammer. And those funds were a request to go toward project costs, so the due diligence, the stewardship, the legal defense funds, so that the Vermont Land Trust can ensure that the conservation is upheld in perpetuity. In this instant, and that was a donation easement from the Bassage family. What I'm working on with the Fish Sisters is a purchase easement. And so we've applied to Vermont Housing and Conservation Board and the USDA, US Department of Agriculture, for funds in order to compensate the landowners for those development rights. So they are different projects, with different budgets. Federal funding is uncertain these days. Agricultural easements are still in incredibly high demand across the country, so I'm hopeful that we'll continue to do these kinds of projects with USDA. But also at the same time, Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, who typically pays for about half of the easement payment for farm projects, they're experiencing huge demand on the housing and the conservation side of things. So I think you can expect us to continue to ask for your consideration towards this project. I don't think it's gonna double every time. That's just how it is.
And looking back at the history of it,
Yeah.
it's really variable,
Yeah.
I think it was almost 10 years ago now, but down here on Beacon Brook, that was, we contributed 30.
Yeah.
To. So it really is, yeah, but it has a lot to do with just what's going on in the project.
Don't hear that a lot.
No.
They're sat on their keys.
Not me.
Oh, or someone's getting.
Oh, Doug, I think that's yours.
Oh, good.
Oh, I can't. It's your keys, Doug. So I have one more question, John. So am I understanding then, that the, like public access or use is not covered by, under this, particular easement?
That's correct. It will not be part of the conservation easement. It's my understanding, that the Fitch sisters are intending to continue to allow, public access, the extensive access that they've allowed.
Yeah.
in previous years, but it's out of consideration for future farm owners that we're not memorializing it for perpetuity.
Yeah, and, you know, I guess I follow that, logic. I just, think, and certainly want to acknowledge that, the Fitch family has always been very generous with access to their parcel, and it is like so close to, one of our villages, and I'm sure is appreciated by all who drive by it, and myself included, living up the road. But, you know, I think I guess as a note to the Conservation Commission, like these are significant chunks of funds that are being, you know, applied in a point in time. And then I guess my question is, as we move into multiple generations of ownership, as I've heard, like, you know, preserving the access and the kind of public use and, around this particular property, it seems like that would be something that we would also want to try to protect in these easements. This one's a pretty unique situation because it is so centrally located with, in kind of that Maple, corner loop, but, for me personally, it gets, more challenging to think about, like, the generations ahead who are going to look back at these contributions, and maybe there's different ownership, and we don't have as much access to those,
I would agree
parcels.
with you, because this is perpetuity we're talking about. It isn't like it's 20 years or 80 years.
Right, yeah.
That's a big deal. Big deal to the town. The town's putting up the money. So.
I guess I would just offer that the town's being asked to put up a portion of funds that are, you know, not by any sense the majority, and that there's contributions coming from elsewhere, to support it. And I mean, I recognize that this is in perpetuity. I feel like that section of Calais has already been designated, you know, part of the National Historic Register in terms of the historic nature of a portion of the property. I think that sits still on it. And I think, you know, I do think the case for it is there. I think as a select board, maybe we would be, and I think the Conservation Commission would be thinking about, if we started to have multiple properties adjacent to one another that are all under easement, then I would be, maybe we might be having a different conversation, and that could be our future, but the question before us right now is whether we are making this contribution, so.
Right.
Yeah, it is something that's in our guidelines, is considering the recreation, and I absolutely agree that that's valuable. I think the Conservation Commission felt like there's a lot of benefit to this project and has been supporting.
Sorry, John, didn't mean to forget about you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, John Brayvan, Singleton. I first want to remind everybody, I think whoever was saying is the amount of money you're leveraging, a mere $15,000, I'm gonna disagree with you, Bill, is pretty large, number one. But I think what the Fitch family has done, regardless of the level of compensation they got, which I think is less than it really is should be valued at development rights. In this day and age in the town of Calais, I think it's a huge gift to the town of Calais and all the residents now and in the future. I mean, I can't imagine what would happen. I gotta say, I was always worried that would be like covered with solar panels. It's got the perfect orientation. And, you know, in what I do for work is I'm seeing farms like this, literally covered with hundreds of acres of panels. It's destroying communities, tearing communities apart. So we don't have to worry about that. The Fitch family has, long before, they considered this in the past, but long before we started hearing about their looking into conserving their property, has provided public access to their property. Stan and Elaine were here. They provided public access. So, you know, they've done this for our community as I see it. We're all not gonna be here too many decades into the future, and this is gonna be a benefit.
Speak for yourself. I'm not that old, John.
Speaking of the Fitches and me. And as a farmer, I'm just so happy to see all that prime ag land protected. And of course, as has been mentioned, the historic district, it's the premier farm, at least in that area of Calais, and Doug's is the other one. We've seen other farms busted up in this town, and it's a real shame, and I'm just so delighted that this is going on. And I look at what $15,000 buys you. If there's a pickup truck for sale on the side of the road for $15,000 used, you better put that on a list. It's probably all rotted out. That's what you get for $15,000. And look what $15,000 will bear out of the town of Calais. So I'm so thankful to the Fitch family, the Fitch sisters, for their good-heartedness and what they're willing to do for this town. It's just wonderful. So please support this.
As a resident and not as a town, thank you, John.
Thank you for those very succinct.
I would just like to add, though, that I am not against it.
Yeah.
I'm not at all. But what I just have a problem with the public access piece. That's the only piece I have a problem with. I'm for the project. That's all.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think that I'm Reed Charrington. As I understand it, if public access was denied in the future, it's possible to, with the easement holder, the Vermont Land Trust has the right to
Amend or consider.
I'm not sure how to phrase it, but they have the right, they can purchase the right of access. Is that fair way of putting it?
I don't know if that particular instance, there's been many eras of conservation easements, and so they've changed across the decades, and I'm not familiar with that. I would say that between the great work of the town trails committee and some additional just contact every year from Vermont Land Trust. I would hope that a future landowner would be, more likely to continue access, public access than if there was no conservation easement. It's certainly something that is valued by the land trust, and would be happy to contribute some time to, work through conflicts that are occurring and things like that. So, and Mead Benhammer is the current steward for the town of Calais. And it's great.
I think, I don't think there's any considering land in Calais that isn't open to the public now, so it's kind of interesting precedent there, so I think it would be a very unfortunate thing if access were denied, but, the statistics are kind of in our favor in terms of what passed. There's thousands of acres, I think, at this point that are under conservation easement. Including John Brayden, yeah.
And we don't post. We welcome people to hunt and fish and trap.
Well, and I don't want to dwell on this too long and take, we're running a little behind schedule and I appreciate the commentary on it. I think that this is a good line of conversation, with the Conservation Commission, as these projects start to increase. And one of the things that I guess the group is not seeing is this kind of list of kind of medium-term view that the Conservation Commission is now starting to put into a little clearer view, I think, for the select board as we're starting to think about when more of these projects are coming up. So I guess I'd table that particular line of dialogue for now. And it sounds like there's probably consensus that we could probably entertain a vote at this point on approving the use of $15,000 out of the Conservation Commission's reserve fund for or put towards the project costs associated with the conservation easement that was reviewed by the Conservation Commission for the fish farm. Is that a clear enough summary? Somebody want to own the actual? There it is.
Second.
All right.
30 seconds.
Hardy second. All of those in favor? Aye. Great. Thank you so much. Congratulations and thank you. Thank you. Really. It's a beautiful parcel. I love driving by it every day.
I'll make sure that my kids let people.
Please do. At least we're getting these recorded on Zoom now, so we're all also recorded in eternity. We'll try to throw that in their face if we need to. We hope we don't need to. Thank you. It really is an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's going.
So Neil, I guess, how do folks feel about spending time talking about the other document that the Conservation Commission had forwarded over, which is just kind of a summary of some other projects that are kind of on their purview? I think that kind of ties into a little bit of that dialogue around the refunding of the Conservation Commission reserve fund. Or we can table it and maybe dive a little deeper into that the next time. I kind of want to try to pull us back on the track here a little bit.
If it's okay, I feel like I delayed, but not addressing it right now.
This is for the FY27 budget.
That's correct.
Sorry.
Previously, when the Conservation Commission made their initial request for funding of the reserve fund, that had a $30,000 figure. We asked for a little more homework and rationale around where that was coming from. And so they provided that, which is very helpful. Thanks for laying that out like that. But I think we can acknowledge that we received that and then maybe bring that back into the dialogue for the next meeting. When we might have a little bit more time to get into the weeds on that.
I guess one thing I was curious to take a look at your guidelines. You mentioned that you're updating them, but I've never actually looked at them myself, and I find it really interesting to think about the categories and. Yeah, I need to do that. Let me do some of my own work.
Yeah, I can email it too and give you a brief summary of what we feel like is missing from.
Great.
Yeah,
Thanks.
is that something that'll happen next week, likely? It'd be helpful if I came back
If you have time and can, that would be great,
Put you
but
on first if you want.
yeah. What?
That'd be awesome.
Okay,
That's great. Thanks, Neil.
best of honor.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, yeah. Thanks, Diane. Thanks, Reed. So. Again, apologies, we're running a little behind. We do have our public comment period up next. So I would like to open that up, for folks. We have, Rini. For those who are here, their public comment on items that currently aren't on the agenda, anybody would like to make a comment on? Mr. Braban?
Couple of things that came to mind. The reason I came here was because of this project, just so you're not to complain. This is not a complaint, so just points of, these are ideas. I think it would be helpful, particularly during budget season, if your board packet were posted on the website. I looked all over, maybe it's buried in there. But, you know, in terms of transparency, it's really problematic. I can't look at the budget. It's hard to respond to something that's, you guys are just picking at items that interest you or concern you, or so if you could do that, that'd be really great. I'm gonna do this out of order, my notes, the Back Street project. I heard Kari say that I guess you would have a more public discussion before committing one way or the other on that. I just, are the houses that are on Back Street, are they on the East Calais Fire District water supply? Yeah, okay. But, you know, it's a bumpy, rutty road, and I think if I lived on that road, I'd be really appreciative, because it keeps people from cutting through, and if that's paved, the tendency is to cut through there. And it will be, that will become the main thoroughfare, at least coming down the hill.
As opposed to which
As
way?
opposed to going around the church. So. Well, it's easier sight distance. I know sometimes I take it because of that, but you know, at least if it's bumpy like it is now, it keeps people going slow. Those houses are, at least one house is tight to the road. And I can't go through there faster than 10, which I think is what you want, particularly when it sidles up between, you know, next to the store, people park on the side. I just think it's a bad idea to pave it. And it's not only the initial expense to pave it, but then there's the ongoing maintenance between. Now you're salting that, we already have a salt problem in the state, now we're gonna add more salt. And now you're gonna be maintaining more pavement, which is, as you know, very expensive. Road widening, I don't think it's the intention of the highway crew to road widen, but the effect of the way you're plowing, your crew is plowing now, is to have a wider road, at least during the plowing season. Because Singleton Road, and Bill, I remember grass growing up the middle of Singleton Road, south of my property. I remember coming through with my dad, not knowing if it was a class 4 road. And I'm talking 1980s. I'm not talking 1950s. That road is so wide. You could have 2 tractor trailers going through the wooded section south of my house. You could have 2 tractor trailers going 50 miles an hour each direction and they'd have no problem. And it's because it's plowed so wide. And if we're concerned, the select board is concerned about keeping speeds reasonable, at least at the posted limit, which I hope that's where your heads are all at. That you might want to have a conversation with the road crew. It's important to plow and keep the banks back, but there's a way to do it so it's not, the travel surface is not twice as wide as the summer travel surface, which increases speeds. That if they were plow at grade, a certain width, appropriate width, And then they can lift their, when they wing back, they can wing back a foot high. And then that would keep the roads visually narrowed and keep speeds at bay. Lighten Ridge Road, it looks like Route 14, it's so freaking wide, I just can't believe it, my wife and I went that the other day. It's unbelievable. So I just, and that's a school, that's a road, I know Mr. Lilly complains about speeds. You guys have invested in speed control signs, and then we go and plow Route 14 wide, go down there. It's like Route 14, and people will drive like Route 14. So I think, is that it? But this legal fees, just something to put on your radar, it's not an issue this budget year, but with the changes to Act 250, and also the governor's executive order, which there's some legal challenges going on right now, whether he has the authority to waive standards and regulation, like the wetland regulations. There's a trend we're on in floodplains and wetlands and other environmental protections being pushed by the wayside. If the town holds them near and dear and sees that and I know we have historically relied on, this is what A&R, each natural resources does, this is what Act 50 does, I mean, this is what we do in our planning and zoning. Increasingly, we're gonna see that burden downloaded on towns, so let's say the state weakens or waives or however they go about it, wetlands protections. The town's gonna need to revise, if it cares, about maintaining the 50-foot minimum from a wetland, say, buffer. The town's gonna need to then put that in their zoning. And town, instead of calling the state and having state attorneys and the attorney general and all that capacity, focused on that instead of the town, making a simple phone call, the town's gonna now have to do enforcement. So just want to put that on your radar. And maybe the Conservation Commission's radar and Planning Commission's radar, you may see increasing legal costs associated with the changes going on. I doubt they've come up with this tiered approach. We will likely stay at what they call tier 2, which we won't see too much change here overall, but what's going to be more to change we'll feel here will be not directly related to 250, but the changes going on at A&R. And are advocating their responsibilities, so. And that's all I want to say, thank you.
Okay. Appreciate that feedback. I'll kind of reserve any commentary on that just for the sake of time, but we'll keep those noted certainly as we go through the budgeting and appreciate that feedback. Mr. Lilly?
Yeah. Land use, land court,
Land trust.
not the land trust, water resource, water, getting over. Wetland,
Wetlands.
yeah. Well, as I know, we got the town on our own. And I've already been there and have been down and look at we're talking about the Cold Spring now, okay? Number one, that brought in a lot of gravel. You fill that in, that's what, you cannot do it. Okay, there's not, you and I, Kevin, they kept the city. And they changed the road. They haven't changed the road.
Yeah, Doug, I just wanted to acknowledge that we haven't forgotten about that project. We haven't forgotten about that particular project.
She's gonna take care of it this spring. Okay. We're talking about Lightning Ridge.
Okay.
Let's talk about Lightning Ridge. Today, this morning, he called me up, right? And told me that the sheriff is coming to my house and gonna make sure that I move those bales of hay. Now, those bales of hay are on the side of my trees. I own those trees. I own both sides of the road. So that means I own the road, the town has a right of way. But what he's doing is I don't believe you've even come up there and looked at it. Have you come up and looked at it? Found it? You haven't, have you?
No, I just seen photos,
Huh?
just photos.
From whom?
Doug,
Don't shut me down.
no, I mean, like, listen, we've gotten feedback on road maintenance tonight that has been presented in what I would consider a pretty reasonable fashion, and you dip into this personal attack mode that I find is pretty unacceptable, Doug.
That's the truth.
So if you can register your concerns in a way that is respectful to the other parties that you may be in opposition to without making personal comments on them.
Well, he called me.
So what exactly are you commenting on?
That if I don't move the hay by tomorrow, the sheriff is coming, knocking on my door.
Okay. It sounds like there's an issue with items that you've placed in the town right of way then, if that is the case. All right.
I would, and what I'm saying to you is, the road crew is coming right up next to my trees, that far from those big trees. The grass is showing there, and people drive there now, and they drive the frost into the ground. They're gonna kill those trees. They've already killed a lot of them over the years. And I'm not moving them. I've already talked to an attorney, I'm not moving them.
We'll look forward to hearing from your attorney then.
Well, good.
Thanks, Doug.
Well, I'm not any problem with it. You know, I have any problem with it.
We have another member of the,
She sent a message saying she didn't have a comment, I believe, in the chat.
oh, okay,
Double check.
great, sorry.
Is that not a hand raise? No?
I don't think so. I think that's just a cursor that is
Thank you.
hovering.
And if I could add,
Yeah.
I know I had my opportunity, but, you know, when I spoke about Reading Ridge, I did see those hay bales, and they're on what would have been the grass portion. They're not boulders. If a car crashed into them, it wouldn't damage the car, maybe some plastic would, but it'd be better to hit those bales and hit a tree. The other thing is, there's a junk car right there on the Frank's property,
Yeah,
closer to the road than those hay bales are, and if I had a choice, I'd rather hit hay bales than, but, you know, it gets back to roads so bloody wide, and I really encourage select board to take a look at what's going on down there.
Well,
Necessary.
those are, frankly, from my perspective, two separate things. And we will spend some time talking about those, both of them. But they're not currently on the agenda, so we'll find a time to bring those up. So thank you. Moving through the balance of our agenda, we have the administrative items that are up for review and the associated actions. So sadly, the first item is
What if we don't accept it?
We have the consideration to accept the resignation of Shayna as recording secretary. Sorry to, on a number of levels to see that you're having to kind of prioritize time that doesn't involve us, but certainly understandable. I'll just note that your service to this role has been greatly appreciated, and thank you very much for the flexibility and being able to serve to the best of your ability, I guess, while you're around, and able to do so. Certainly, you know, it sounds like you've got a lot to juggle, and if that does change, that's a generous offer. We're happy to continue to serve in that role until we can find somebody else. But does anybody else want to thank Shayna profusely?
I did tell Corey I would stay until you found her.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate
We
it.
do appreciate it.
Yeah. Can we check the chat, Corey?
No.
Keep little symbols keep coming up from her.
No, there's something in there.
No public comment. Just heart emojis. yeah, you had some really big shoes to fill, and I think you did a great job and really appreciate that. If you do have feedback on the role or other considerations that we should put in our peer purview before posting it, please, by all means, share those. We always appreciate the feedback, and we'd want to take those into consideration for sure. So with that, I guess I would entertain. a motion.
Just accept it.
We could just accept it. Okay. Well,
Reluctantly.
we reluctantly accept Shannon's resignation. Authorization or authorize recording secretary recruitment and hiring process. So that was also posted to the share drive. This also impacts Shayna's role in serving as recording secretary for the DRB as well, and conservation. I assume we wouldn't want to make any changes to those particular services, right?
Yeah, I
Keep
thought we
everything
could
the same.
just rerun the process that we did a year ago or whatever that spring. That seemed to work pretty well. And both Willa and Neil said that they were interested in joining. Let's see if they're available. Schedule everybody, but
Great.
if that works for you. There was a couple things to think about. One, we already had an inquiry. I'm not sure how that happened, but the person asked if they needed to attend every meeting or if they could create the notes from a recording.
Oh.
So we didn't have an answer, but it's worth thinking about. Each body could be different in that way. The other idea that occurred to us as we're thinking about the replacement of Barbara's position is, could that be rolled into that position? Either as a additional set of duties kept distinct from that position as recording secretary, or as part of that position. Be a great way to learn about the town. And don't have to respond to that, but just think about it.
So do we need to make a decision around the authorization of soliciting that, or do you want us to continue to ruminate and provide some feedback?
We'll get started if you can just nod. You don't have to take an action.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Approval of the minutes. So we had the minutes posted to the share drive. Hopefully everyone's had the opportunity to review. Those would be the minutes from the November 24th select board meeting. Does anybody have any questions or any dialogue on those? Barbara, you had a question?
I'm trying to find it. I thought, it seemed like there was a section that was in the wrong spot. There's a piece here, I guess it was the speed, there was a discussion about the speed signs and so forth, but it was not captured in the
minutes.
It's in the minutes, but it's under the discussion around, sorry, hold on, give me just a minute. It's not with the discussion with the sheriff.
The sheriff,
It's
yeah.
with a different,
Okay, so we're Jim Wells.
Yes.
Collecting data, yeah, it came up because it kind of blurred a little bit, the conversations. I can move that easily, but it did just kind of, the discussions kind of got.
That was the order, you recorded it in the
in the
order.
order, yeah, I guess, I saw that and it just really jumped out at me, but, that must be the case, that it came back up while we were, okay, excuse me.
I think it's okay, given that it reflects what happened in the meeting.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely, okay.
Plus there's a recording, and if we manipulate it, then we'll very.
I'm not suggesting.
Is everybody comfortable with how they are, and can I get a motion
I
to
move
approve as
to
presented?
Approve the 24th minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, thank you.
I need to abstain because I wasn't part.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we won't linger on where you were and what you were doing. Vote to approve the board orders, also posted to the share drive. And prepared by Kari. Has everybody had the opportunity to review those? Kari, is there anything in particular? No, they look pretty straightforward. Does anybody have any questions? Can I get a motion to approve and sign the board orders? Yes,
How
sir.
does his hand not shake when he writes a check that big?
Quadruple check.
Yeah,
Yeah,
All right.
I'm telling you, getting used to
I
it.
move to accept and sign the board orders.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. There's also the approval of the purchase and an extended warranty for the new dump truck. That was.
Right, I reported last time that that was not included in the purchase price.
Yeah.
And it's a good idea to have a 7-year warranty. So the combination of the 7-year warranty for engine, transmission and chassis is $16,847. And as I hate to, I recommend we purchase that out of the highway equipment capital reserve fund.
Yeah, that was my only question. That'd be coming out of the capital reserve fund, I assume.
We did
Yeah,
budget.
yeah.
And that was leaving out something on the.
Yeah, the towing, which, it comes with a couple of years of towing, but not 7.
Okay.
And axle coverage, which is only 5-year. It's very specific to, I don't know why the axles don't.
Don't need those.
Okay.
Okay, so this would be a motion to approve the purchase of an extended warranty and I guess change order on the truck purchase.
Just the warranty.
Just the
Yeah.
warranty for 4191 to be paid out of the capital reserve fund.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And that'll, I meant to mention that'll kick in when we actually take possession of the truck.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Next item is the approval of the 2025 employee bonuses. We had a dialogue around this, and
Kari made a recommendation, it's very clear.
And Kari made a very clear
We
recommendation.
liked it.
Has everybody had the opportunity to review said recommendation?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve the employee year-end bonuses for 2025?
As recommended by Kari.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is the debate, de minimis property tax balances, which is a annual consideration, also prepared by Kari as treasurer. Which is going to be to approve discrepancies, de minimis discrepancies in property tax payments. Has everybody had the opportunity to review those?
Yes.
Or review that request rather? Can I get a motion to abate all amounts less than $5?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The last one is an approval or authorization of the Calais stores, or I guess, I don't know how, who's gonna be responsible.
I don't either.
This has been a
Yeah, what is this?
highly contested debate in my family.
This seal right here? This
You have
thing?
personal interest.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to abstain from this, though if it doesn't pass, I might not make it home or have to. It is, I am being accused of gross government bureaucratic obstruction. No, and so there's a,
Can I just give the background?
Yes, please.
After all that, you're not gonna let me explain myself? And go ahead.
The Friends of Calais, right now they have a store where they sell goods that have Calais Cougar gear. And they thought it'd be a good idea to sell Calais, things that say Calais, things that have, all sorts of fun Calais related stuff, including the seal. And then Jamie was like, well, we talked to the stores was like, oh, that'd be cool, if we could have stuff in the stores that has the town seal, or I would love a Calais t-shirt, that would be great. But we thought it would be good to run it by the select board for we being the Friends of Calais and the stores utilize the town seal on here, we just thought we'd check it out and make sure everything's above board.
I think there should be some control over the use of a seal.
Thank you, Barbara.
I agree 100%.
I do too.
You should have first right of refusal.
By the town.
Yeah,
It's official.
we can't have it out and about willy-nilly.
But then how do we?
So $1.
People want mugs or t-shirts with it.
No, I'm just saying, I think we need to
So we need to approve the item.
something.
I guess I don't want to muddy the water any more than it did. The other extra bit there was that, this kind of came up in context that the branded merchandise that the Friends of Calais sell, is done through an arrangement that, doesn't really raise that much money. And my primary concern was that if people were buying these things in the stores, there would be a question over like, well, what do the funds go to and how much are being made? And if the logistics made sense, like from my personal perspective, if the proceeds from said merchandise sale can go to the benefit of our community-owned stores, then all the better. And yeah, the town should have to approve the use of the logo in the selling of that merchandise, but felt better about the arrangement knowing that the stores were going to be managing the facilitation of that transaction, the use of.
But actually, this is more complicated than that, and I will
Okay.
volunteer to look into it and come back to us at next meeting.
And to add to what Jordan was saying, the online store right now, we get like pennies on the dollar, like I think
Yeah,
Renee said we've gotten one $20 check in the many years we've had a store there. And then Jamie said, well, I have a different supplier that could probably get us less expensive stuff, but we need to buy it. The existing store is made to order. So if I order a sweatshirt, they print it, I get it next week.
Right, you don't have to carry
backstock.
inventory.
But if we involve the stores that can carry some back stock, then maybe we can use a more local supplier, order stock, and then the stores could actually make a few dollars and not a few pennies on the things that we're selling.
Okay.
so we're tabling that.
John has it.
Only if you got a spare bed, because I'm not gonna be allowed to go home now.
Any, maybe clothing that might bear the emblem needs to be basically manufactured in a way that it couldn't be misused, so someone could say I'm a town official, I work for the highway department or on the.
There are issues,
Knock on someone's door, so it needs to be like pretty clear how
Yeah.
it's done, so maybe an overarching policy in that regard.
This is why some organizations, some towns or government entities end up with a separate
Promotional,
public
yeah.
facing treatment. That's not the official seal.
yeah.
And that has come up as an option. We've thought about other images, but we have a big, beautiful seal and we didn't know if that was possible.
All right, I'll try to explain it the best I can, but I totally agree. I mean, that was.
I hate to hear that.
I had reservations about wanting to kind of put it in a box.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But
And yeah, I think we might need a brand.
Yeah, and I think also I would just comment that online is very different than.
Definitely.
Our various stores and.
All right. Fascinating.
We'll table that. Nope.
It does demonstrate Calais spirit, and I
We like
really
that.
support that, and we don't wanna get in the way of it
I
for too long or too. You know what I mean? I mean,
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think, frankly, I was at the time, it was in the context of budgeting and stuff and trying to spitball around how we might be able to, leverage the consumption of those who are well-heeled enough and want to like maybe buy Palace merchandise and support the community. And I just think we just need to be clear about where those funds are going and what they're being used for. But I think it opens an interesting line of conversation. For sure. Thank you, Chris, for taking a little bit deeper look into that.
How about that?
okay, this is where we.
No.
All right.
Moving on to the office staffing model.
Jordan, since I
Yeah.
neglected to put the documents into the folder and we're a half an hour behind
Yes.
and Daniel's here.
Yeah.
I suggest we table it.
That sounds great. All right, thank you.
We'd like to talk about it next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did have one more interested party this week also.
Oh,
Great. That's great.
interested party? Do the job.
To do the barber job.
The barber job. Huh? Love her.
So the next item is discussion of the school district ballot with a potential action item of approving the use of the town voter list to facilitate the ballot distribution, to mail the ballots for the Washington County Union Unified School District. And our Calais representative is here. Hello, Daniel. The only other thing that I kind of wanted to note is that we had a few items of public comment that came in that were posted to the shared drive, and I was expecting folks to be present to represent some of those. Did folks see those?
Yes, but they're not here, so let's go on.
Okay. Well, so the primary item we have up for conversation then is the scheduling and I guess timing use of the ballot or for having, right now it says elections. That's for the January 2026 elections.
March.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is a town meeting related.
Did the typo on the agenda?
Got it.
Or apologize.
Yeah, so,
It's for town meeting.
I don't know if you have our memo in your materials.
Yeah.
To authorize all active unchallenged voters be sent a ballot in consideration of the fact that we have to equally distribute the ballots in every town. So we would need unanimous consent from all 5 towns to do it this way, but we would like universal ballot mailing if possible. When we've done it in the past, we've had higher turnout. We'd like to do it again. Last year, there were some hiccups. It didn't work out. You, I think, authorized it last
We
year.
did, yep. And the school district pays the cost?
We do. Yeah, and I think sometimes maybe they're mailed together and we pay sort of the difference.
Yes, we'll talk more about that in the next.
Is there a possible future process that would involve making that towns being able to decide that that becomes the default? So we don't have to go through that vote process every year? I just feel like this comes up every year and it's
Yeah.
always a
We usually
push.
say yes. It's
We
never-
say yes, but I know it's controversial in other towns.
My tenure on the board doesn't extend to before COVID. So my understanding is that universal ballot mailing sort of became a thing during COVID.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think that it's been sort of controversial to varying degrees in many different jurisdictions, but popular on some, less popular on others.
What are the arguments against?
Fraud.
Fraud, okay. Right.
And I guess cost, but if the school board were always in the position, I guess, of bearing the cost of it, and I guess my question is, what's the mechanism through which you codify that for just the Calais voters within the school
Maybe
district?
in articles of agreement change.
Well, and if, yeah,
I don't know how, I haven't read the articles of agreement closely enough about elections to know whether, I think they might be silent on the process.
I don't remember it being in there.
Yeah.
But that's not usually what I'm looking for when I open that up.
Yeah, it's more food for thought than
Yeah.
anything.
so, but the main argument for is that you get better participation, more people vote, so that would be good.
Mhm.
I would favor the motion.
I would as well.
Are you making the motion?
I will move that the town of Calais allow the Washington Central Unified Union School District to distribute ballots for the WCUUSD annual meeting via USPS mail to all active, not challenged, registered voters on the town checklist.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Sorry, was that an aye, Bill?
Yes, I
Okay,
was just late doing it.
that's all right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
For
you.
all you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Very much so.
We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Will we, when will we know? I mean, one of those, all the
So-
towns have to.
That's a good question. My understanding is that I think we're meeting, I don't think that tomorrow is when we're making that decision. We needed to, I think. It's, yeah, it's a little fuzzy because normally we meet 2 Wednesdays a month and we're meeting, I think, 3 or maybe 4 Wednesdays this month. So, I think it's by the 17th of December that we're gonna have. an answer.
21st. Laura texted me today.
Oh, okay.
I know that.
That might have to do with
said
one of
yes,
the,
And I think Berlin also said yes already.
oh,
Okay, good.
is that about Berlin and Middlesex?
Oh, I mean, it's very.
We're naysayers.
Sorry, what she said is we need to give it to you by this, maybe vote on it. Is that right?
I'm not sure. January?
January 21st.
For what?
I think that's the day we have to warn.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
Great.
we needed to know in December, so thank you very much for your
yeah.
explanation.
No problem. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah. Do you want to table the office staff conversation permanently, or you want to circle
next
back? Yeah, next week, okay, great. Mailing the 2026 town meeting ballots. Tegan, you want to take this one?
It's a very similar conversation, arguments in favor of, so there's a couple pieces, we should have the cost analysis in your packets, very fast enough to you. There's a cost associated with printing out of house versus printing in-house. If it's gonna be tabulated, we have to print out of house. There's a cost to program the tabulator, and there is a cost to mailing to all voters. So we can sort of a la carte our way through that. The benefit to doing the tabulator and to the mail, having the printing house mail to all voters is everybody gets it, and it's a lot less work for us. I don't have to do a whole lot until election day, and then on election day, I run it through the tabulator, and that's it. It's more work if we print them ourselves, but it's cheaper. It's more work if we count them ourselves, but it's cheaper. I don't mind counting. We've had really good luck with volunteers so far counting. And we're trying to pinch pennies here, but at the same time, if you all think it's better off to spend the money if it's worth the democratic process, then that is also your purview.
I would just say it costs staff time money. I mean, it
Yes.
costs
Yes,
staff time.
it costs that.
When you do it yourself.
What's the price differential?
The tabulator costs a little over 500 more depending on how many items are on the ballot. There's not that many on the ballot, so I think it'll be 525. Carl, you have the exact numbers in your memo?
Yeah.
Is that where?
So just printing alone, we got updated costs today. Printing alone and making them available by request at a town meeting, so not mailing. That's the cheapest option, $414. then. I have this so confusing, the middle option of printing and mailing is $690, so that's only $270 more. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it was
They're
20.
very
So it costs-
small
It
amounts.
costs $270 to mail, and we would share that cost?
And if the school district votes to do it, then
Yeah.
the shipping house would print them all together, put them all and mail them together, so we would pay half of whatever it costs to mail both ballots, which is often cheaper if it's in one combined envelope.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So it might only be
We should just do it.
$150 or something.
I
so
think-
can we decide this after we know if the school district will be mailing?
Yeah,
We will have time.
I think so. The printing places always like to know as soon as possible who is printing and mailing ballots with them, but I think we have some time. We can also sort of provisionally decide tonight, which is the other option.
Yeah, okay.
You're saying though that if we are doing the school, combo,
Yes,
then we would use their print, we would use their print shop or
well,
whatever.
we all use Jet Service, the same company that
Okay.
most places around here use.
Yeah.
And so, yes, in the past, they already have our voter mailing list because the school district gives it to them. We just say, okay, stick our ballot and our envelopes in with their ballot and their envelopes, and they print them and mail them all together.
Which would you prefer?
I'm cheap, I like to do it all by hand,
Yeah.
but a lot of work, and Barbara's on her way out, and she is working fewer hours, so it would be more work on me. And I, like all of you, have a hard time saying no to more work if it saves money. So
I just think it's not
Doesn't say
saving
that.
significant.
Yeah,
No, it's not
I'm gonna override this. I think, there's plenty of other opportunities, I think, for that frugality to play out. And I think that, relative to the benefit, and who knows where the rest of the year goes with voting and costs and things.
To clarify, Tegan, you were referring to the tabulator printing, right?
a little bit of everything.
The mailing is actually a bargain.
Right, yeah.
Printing is over $500, and honestly, we have three pairs of volunteers that come and count ballots, and they can have a really nice time and do it fairly quickly. So I don't think we need to do the tabulator. I think it's a lot of work to get the tabulator wherever we're gonna take it to the school. Like having that thing bang around in the back of my car is my favorite part of town meeting. Some people like it more, some people don't trust it. It means we need one more volunteer standing by the tabulator, being like, this is how you use the tabulator. Please don't put your school ballots on the tabulator. Please just put your town ballots on the tabulator. It needs to work confusion.
I generally support printing or having the ballots printed, mailed to everybody and hand counting.
Yes, sounds good.
Sounds like a motion.
Don't move it.
Jamie made a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah.
The town meeting day ballots are printed professionally and mailed to all Calais voters. And that
All
all registered,
challenged voters.
Yeah.
yes.
But
And that we do
the-
not use the tabulator.
Unless the WCUUSD is also mailing and we're splitting the cost. I mean, what
No,
about that?
irrespective of
We're
that.
doing it anyway.
We mail ours anyway,
Okay.
is my motion.
People will have to call and request
Second.
career center ballots anyway,
Okay,
so.
all right, fine. Good.
Okay,
We like mailing ballots.
all those was there a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
All right, there you go, Tegan.
Thank you.
Find another way to save a couple $100 though, because
Which already saved 500 for.
Yeah.
County.
hand counting. Thank you very much. So the other item to kind of talk about and discuss relative to printing costs, et cetera, is the town report. And Tegan's homework on the costs associated with having the town report printed, which is also listed in the memo there. And
The other thing here is, we don't decide whether we mail the town report, the voters decide. We are deciding whether to put an item on the town meeting
That's right.
warning, whether the voters decide if we want to mail the town.
And you conclude that there is little reason to think we would save a significant amount of money in not mailing the reports to every household.
At least early on, while we're being conservative and printing enough to have available. You know, we don't know how many people actually want, so.
So we're talking about this because a lot of towns don't mail their town reports? Is that right?
Barbara was very frustrated by how many she saw in the recycling bins at the post office. And Barbara is the one who puts in the day of work, making the mailing list, the household mailing list, and making sure we're not mailing to more than one. And so she reached out to other clerks to see, hey, is this a thing people do? Clerk said, yeah, we have plenty of other towns don't mail to everybody. But every town is different, every voting population is different, every town office is different.
Okay, and we are required to mail a thing to every household that says something.
We don't necessarily have to mail it, but we would have to warn it in a newspaper, and those cost about as much as mailing a postcard to everyone.
What if we put a collection bin so that people didn't just put them in the recycling, and then at least, you know, the post offices can collect those, we like get them back, and then those can be the ones that we take to the school for people to grab if they're coming in attendance, or, you know, at least they're not going in the recycle bin. And
We could certainly, we order a box, an extra box for the town office, and often that's more than we need for our records, so.
well, let's see if we can get them back, you know, or intercept them, maybe is a better term, and then we can revisit this as a opportunity for reducing the number of them that we have, like the number that we have printed in the following year. And that'll put us in a position of being responsive to the concern about kind of the wastefulness. You know, I think so far the anecdotal feedback is that everybody really appreciates the hard copies with all the flourishes of reporting from the various committees and et cetera. So stay the course and maybe see if we can't find a way to intercept at the post
I
office.
feel like it's a high quality piece and there's a lot of value in getting it to people.
I feel pretty strongly about it, keeping it, absolutely.
And a lot of people do, I have them on my shelf.
Sure.
A lot of people do. We send them to a couple different libraries that keep them for as many towns as they can, like they're valuable to have, and we don't yet have a population that would rather read a town report on their phone. Maybe in 30 years, they will right now, that is not the way Calais.
Just,
All right,
thank you, Tegan,
Thank
for getting those numbers pulled together. Appreciate that. Moving on to preparations for the East Montpelier Fire Department meeting.
We talked about it a bit.
yeah,
I just
think
wanted to
so.
create some space. One thing to note is that Thomas, the new chief, wants to start the meetings at 6:30 going forward, so if you're coming, come at 6:30. And yeah, that's, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah,
So at the fire station.
who's able to attend? Have we already warned that as a joint
It's
meeting?
being warned,
It's
yeah.
already being-
Yeah.
I will not be able to attend, I got another meeting.
Okay,
I'm gonna be there.
too. Are you guys going?
I'm gonna go.
I'm not able to.
what day is it today? Where are we? When is it?
Today's Monday,
It's Thursday.
It's Thursday.
3 nights from tonight.
It was my only free night anyways.
Not anymore.
Sorry about that.
No, I was planning on attending that one. Like, you know, I think the big news is that change, that pivot around the new hire, which
Yeah.
is both
Yeah.
encouraging and interesting. I'll leave it to them to
Yeah.
expand on that a little bit more.
And you said it's at the fire station, not the.
To the
town
fire
office.
station. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure about
Is it-
that.
Okay.
Usually it's at the fire station because it has more space.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. There was one or two.
Yeah,
at
you're
the
right.
Town office that,
Yeah.
but I think.
I plan to send a reminder out anyway with all documents.
So it sounds like at least myself and Jamie and Kari and Christie, you think,
I have a conflict.
oh, that's fine.
All right.
Well, if anybody has any questions or points that they'd really like expounded on, then please by all means, send them the party. That sounds good.
So one opportunity to kind of influence things, because
Yeah.
you need both towns and the
Right,
fire department in
right.
the same place.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry to miss it.
Oh, sorry, blank there. The draft 2026 select board calendar review. Which.
Yeah, so
also posted
really
to the
this
shared
is
drive.
like looking at dates. And
Yeah.
there's plenty of time to review this. So I think there was one question I had was, do we want to do the same sort of thing we did for Memorial Day that we did this year? Because Memorial Day always fall on one of the regular meetings, and we ended up having, instead of 2-week gaps, we had 3-week gaps and one less meeting at that time of year.
I found that, it was my first time, right? But I found that that meant that we had several meetings where we had very long agendas.
Yeah, sure, there was
So
more.
I just
Piled
was
up.
wondering what the is that the only time of year when, it's an opportunity to just take a break and not have a meeting, or? Just, is it advisable, really? I
I
guess.
don't know if there's really a downtime in the cycle.
Yeah, so it just felt to me like it piled up and made for, much longer meetings.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have to do it that way, we could even meet on Memorial Day, that's not the end of the world, or just find another day to reschedule that meeting.
Well, we're meeting on the 11th. And so we could meet on the 18th.
Yeah, do what we're doing this week.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Do that.
recommend that, just because I felt like we
Yeah, I agree.
really
Yeah.
started to really pile.
Move it rather than skip it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward, and
Yeah, and that
this
is
is,
great.
this is a great thing to have. I mean, this is a relatively new addition to operating, and I think it provides a lot more line of sight.
And we can line up
on the workflow.
the guests well in
Yeah.
advance, which is.
Yeah.
No, it's really helpful.
It says special scheduling on the outside right here.
It says what?
Oh, I think that's where Barbara makes notes of if select board members can't attend or.
Right, so, okay, that is where, okay, so I didn't know if it was a different, header, so I don't know any of these things yet, but if people should they forward it to Barbara?
Yeah,
at this point?
let Barbara know or myself, yeah,
Thank you.
we'll make notes.
Just to make sure you have a quorum, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. That's the main thing.
I don't have any other notes on that. Any other questions? Decision items on that? Don't think so.
That's good.
Thank you. And then we have reports. Deegan?
We talked about most of the things we've been talking about. I did draft a quick warning today for town meeting. It doesn't have any numbers plugged in yet. It's just a format. Ari and I will start plugging away at that, shaping that so that you can have that the next time probably. The plaque for Eva arrived today. It is beautiful. Barbara and I will work on getting it up in the town office. I'm glad we finally are moving forward with this project. We are kind of tidying up the front of the office and getting this plaque as part of that process. Starting to work on town report stuff. Wondering if I'm holding an election next month. Those are, and like I put the town meeting election page on the website today, so starting to get that, starting to let people know town meetings are coming, so that they will let us know if they have a different mailing address, so that they will let us know if they need to run for any office or want to propose an article for the warning. So all those things, Barbara and I are getting the wheels turning on those as we head into the new year. And we're having a party this week. I think you're all invited. You should have all been invited if you're not. You're all invited.
Well, the last one was a blast, so I recommend anybody who can make it to this one, please go. I cannot. I'm anticipating more sprinkler headaches, but
It's in the middle of the day.
it's in the middle of the day.
which is.
Oh,
Maybe one.
One for everyone and one to go.
bring,
Party favors.
bring,
Sandwiches were already.
I know, I heard that part.
bring them to the fire department meeting.
There you go.
Get hungry.
I guess.
Flower season.
Yeah.
Stacking up too many nights without dinner with all these
There we go.
meetings. Kari, town administrator.
Yes, I got a few items. First of all, the county road shoulder work.
Mhm.
So you approved a price of $16,236. That document doesn't say quote or estimate. It just says that. So, and I mentioned this last time, but the invoice that we received was significantly higher, $25,911. And, Norm had,
10 times? You
no,
said
25 versus 16,
Okay, all
or
right,
26 versus 16.
okay.
And Norm had said when the work was done, that, hey, we got it done, it took a little more material than we thought. And then I sort of held my breath until it came.
Jesus.
So then I, went back to him and said, hey, that's like, much higher than we were expecting. What can you do for us? And,
I'd also like to note that it was less work than I thought it was gonna be.
it was done pretty quickly, right?
It was done quickly, and I was under the assumption that it was basically gonna be the entire shoulder on both sides. Which was,
No,
just
it's
spots.
but it was just
The
spots.
low
Yeah.
spots, yeah. But, I mean, that's what I expected, and, there might be some spots where we want more, anyway. The response to what can you do was, he said he could knock $2,000 off. So that would be 7,600 over their quote estimate, or 48%, which is still pretty high.
Yeah.
So, what would you like me to do? I could go beat them up some more. On the other hand,
Maybe you should come.
they are the paver in the area, so that, from my experience, they might get
Well-
that back, in the future.
I mean, I'd like a little more, like, I guess, I would request a little more beating up. I mean, that's the second instance of this kind of thing coming in, and I think the other contractor was pretty generous in how they tried to solve that problem.
Yeah,
And
and I could use that as leverage.
and I think the other thing is that when, I did the napkin math to kind of push back on John, I was trying to be as conservative as possible, and I was basically doing the math for the entire length of the shoulder. And that math ended up aligning with what Pike was saying was gonna be their material consumption, which then influenced our guy's decision to say, yeah, you're right. And at least I was under the impression that it was gonna be like basically a top dressing of the shoulder on both sides of the road, regardless of where they had paved. And that's how I did the math. And so I was, I guess, surprised to see that their number came out about the same, but now that it was like, I'd say that they probably ended up doing about half of what I was doing math for. And now they're also coming in with an overage. So I guess I will show my math on that, but that's annoying.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah, and, maybe using it as in our future conversations with them, where, depending on where we land, of trying to get firmer commitments, then, this is our
Yeah,
estimate,
well-
but it might be 80%
Not to
more,
exceed.
right,
When
yeah.
when we go out to bid for Marshfield, if we go into Marshfield,
Yeah.
we should include the shoulder. Right?
Yeah,
And that should be,
definitely.
and then there's a, right,
Yeah,
but. Yeah, no, this is good, this is helpful.
Yeah.
I can, go back, this is why.
But 10% is not 20%.
I'm sorry, Norm, what are you gonna do?
right,
Yeah.
they're being mean.
It's not me. I-
That's right, right.
It's not what was approved.
Ah.
These people.
Come on to us on camera if you wish.
It's nice
Yeah,
to
right, okay.
be tough on at least.
That was that. The second item was Doug Lilly. So I can show you the photo. I haven't been over, but and John's seen it. But they're on the edge of these big round straw hay
Yeah.
bales is on the edge of the road. I mean, it's a hazard. And John is right, there is a pickup truck, John Stafford had asked me to, call the Franks and address that, and I hadn't done that, so I will do that. But I called Doug today, said, hey, those are your bales, you should move them, he didn't disagree, he said what he said tonight, and he said, and I said, you know, I'm gonna have to call the sheriff, you know, we did this before, if you
Yeah.
weren't
Well,
around.
there were
we
boulders.
sent him
Yeah.
a legal letter along these lines, and you know, those were rocks, that was a much more serious thing, but,
It's something being placed in the town right of way,
Yeah.
from my perspective, and it's a safety issue, and, you know, from my perspective, I don't care what the item is, how soft it is compared to the other items that were been left in the road. I absolutely don't disagree about the parcel down the road that has other things that are in the town right of way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we need to be much more diligent about, setting the expectation that it's not acceptable, for people to take actions into their own hand and place things in the town right of way. If we need to have separate conversation around, road maintenance habits, that's a separate line of dialogue.
yes, I agree.
Absolutely. But placing things in the town right of way is a safety hazard.
Yep.
And I think folks will find themselves in a disappointing position when we have to defend our right to remove those things.
Okay, this is about the Franks, if we do talk to them about the vehicle, another issue that's come up at the school is at least 3 times this past week, a calf or calves have wandered over to the school.
Oh,
And you can't really let kids out on the playground when there's livestock out there. They haven't called anyone yet, but they didn't know. Danielle didn't realize there was a livestock ordinance, and she didn't know that Buffy was our animal control officer, and she talks to Buffy all the time as a school bus person. So they have that information now. I don't know if they're gonna report the calves, but in case the Franks feel we're beating up on them because 2 different issues seem to have surfaced at the same time, I just wanted that on your radar.
Thanks for that clarification. I think we'll wait to hear from Buffy on that one. Yeah.
Next, I just wanted to say, winter's off to quite a start.
Yeah.
The crew worked 100 hours in the past 2 weeks. And, I authorized the purchase of even more sand. 'Cause,
yeah.
you know, which is the nature of these storms, and this happened in the spring too, is just a little every day kind of thing.
Yeah.
At least they weren't on Fridays though, right?
What's that?
They weren't on Fridays. You've been keeping track of.
Yeah, they actually, so
They
that,
were on
the
Monday.
50 hours they worked last week didn't include Friday.
Yeah.
They took Friday off.
See.
Because I think they were exhausted.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it was just, it's been a lot.
How are they feeling? Supported, appreciated?
They should stop looking at Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll ruin your life.
It's that helpful.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then just so you, FYI, we discovered that there were 9 envelopes of tax payments that we had deemed late because they had a postmark of the 18th rather than the 17th, but when with a closer review, they had both 17th and the 18th. They get postmarked, they can get postmarked locally and then postmarked again when they're shipped off to.
Lord.
So that was 17 payments that we thought were delinquent, which were not, so we were able to reverse the penalties. And
Well, we hadn't told them yet.
it was a good thing.
Good.
Yeah, we were waiting for the small abatements, so that it all looked good. Another small matter is we're getting ready to pay stipends, which includes the select board, and the question is, on what basis should we pay these stipends? And what is a year? Is it the calendar year? Is it the select board year? Or is it the fiscal year? Last year we did, and
I think
this
voting participation is probably the best way to do that.
the quality of the votes. And the reason this matters is we did the calendar year, then we'd split Barbara and Ann Winchester up you know, by a couple months. And we did that the year before. I'm not sure. I think that's, I don't know why we did it, but I don't
Probably
remember the
prorated
rationale.
them
We
or
just,
something like that.
we prorated.
Based on what date?
Yeah, and based on the calendar. Now, maybe John has insight into this. I don't know, but
Why wouldn't it
I
be
don't think
2 years?
we-
I don't understand.
is it?
I don't think we parsed it, you know, if someone's brave enough. Come here, endure everything that goes on, we didn't parse it.
My preference would be the select board year, you know,
Right.
when you're the person that was elected in
You mean like March?
So then you have to, oh,
March to March.
oh.
Right, cause most turnover happens
Yeah.
in March.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a lot less of splitting years.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
It
Yeah,
makes
it
sense
makes
to me.
Doesn't
Like
matter.
we're not
My
like
wife just scoops it
overlapping
out of
months.
the
So
I
then
wanna
if
get
we
paid twice.
process them
Takes it
in
away.
February instead of December.
No, I was gonna process them now. I'm doing other stipends. It's nice to get a little more money at the holidays, right? So and then if we can just, we don't necessarily, usually Jamie and Jordan and Barbara and I meet to go over the agenda, but if we can just talk about next week's agenda.
I think that makes sense.
So budget, including Neil,
Mhm.
draft town meeting warning, a draft select board report.
Yes, we'll have, I will plan to get it out before the 15th, so you can look at it.
Office staffing. There's a request to talk about county road treatment, salting of county road. I guess there was an accident last night. Sunday night,
An accident on County Road,
There is
on the paved portion.
a bad one.
slippery.
Oh,
So,
Slow down.
Yeah.
I think she's
I-
okay. Hard
yeah.
enough, but she's okay.
Yeah.
So there was a request from a resident to put it on a select board agenda. So would you like to do that? Would you like to do that?
the issue of how much salt and sand to use.
And Lynn Drive.
We better set aside chunk of time.
Wait a minute, is that a select board decision? Come on.
I mean,
Well,
well,
Someone can come and make a public comment
Yeah.
about what they want. But
rather than. an
does it
agenda
need
item.
to be an agenda?
I don't.
I'm asking.
Who decides how much salt and sand? The
we control the
road
budget.
commissioner. Yeah, but we don't manage.
My understanding of this question, you know, is not, I'm not so much as how much salt is, why wasn't it salted on Sunday night? And I don't know the exact timing, but it was later in the day, Sunday, when, it started snowing kind of later in the day too. I don't have all the details, but,
Yeah.
and I think that's fine to say people are welcome to, they can talk to me. Or they can
I mean,
do a public comment, but the select board's not gonna.
well, the select board wants the roads to be as safe as they reasonably can be, given human constraints and the fact that we don't have unlimited
And
resources.
weather and budget, I mean, this came up with, I guess another bit of feedback. I think it's important to acknowledge that like the feedback is getting to the select board. I guess I would hesitate to want to put, like winter road maintenance as a standalone agenda item at this point
Right.
without
Yeah.
having, frankly, I'm a little disappointed at the tenor of like how those complaints are being registered and where they're being registered. I don't want to put anybody in the position of being exposed to that fodder without kind of, tempering expectations around that. So I do think that it is both helpful to have it presented in the memo when these pieces of feedback are coming in so that we are getting, a line of sight on them in a timely basis. So thank you. And I hope that, the residents are getting an acknowledgement that the select board is seeing those if particular individuals are not, feeling like it's getting the airtime on the agenda, they're welcome to, come and register that during public comment or request a specific agenda item, but I don't see for that particular issue how we could put that on there without stepping into a situation that's not gonna make anybody happy, so.
So I'll offer to have a conversation with them and.
Yeah.
Report back.
Thanks.
And that feels okay to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, I had a note that, I think, Jordan, you mentioned having an executive session about something related
God, I
to
hope not.
personnel. On the fifteenth,
Personnel.
do you remember that, saying something like that last time?
Only if we were prepared to consider a specific proposal around, the staffing model, so.
Okay, that's
Um,
what it was.
so I guess just continue to table that
Okay,
for now.
got it.
Yeah, but that staffing model is on the agenda, yeah.
Yes, that will be on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that was it.
Well,
You had your hand raised.
I think my
Okay.
turn was addressed.
thank you, John. I'm gonna declare the meeting adjourned.